Do you find that it's still difficult to trade profitably? Have you found that trading is taking way too much time? Have you recently developed signs of depression or anxiety or stress and worsening erectile dysfunction? I can't help you with that last part, but if trading is still really freaking complicated for you, I can help you with that. Check it out. If you just trade on the weekly charts, trading becomes so much simpler. And here's why. It's because you barely have to do anything. You don't have to make many assumptions. You don't have to spend hours and hours on the chart. And as a matter of fact, you only really need 15 to 30 minutes per day. Just 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, 5 to 10 minutes in the evening, and we'll round up to say 30 minutes a day. And you just make the same simple decisions over and over and over again. If you look at my charts, all I use is just black and white candles. So it's just white candles with a black background. And then I just use support resistance zones, and I basically just look at the weekly chart. And if we're being real, I glance at the daily to see how the candle closures and stuff are doing because I have the time to do so because I've been doing this full time for the past 10 years. Well, full time for the past 8 years, but I've been trading for 10 years. 8 years have been profitable. So with that said, I'm going to teach you a very, very simple approach, and it's actually going to take me 30 seconds. And then if you want to leave this video, you can feel free to do so. Here's how I trade. I go to the weekly chart. I draw the clearest support and resistance zone above and below price. And if there's none there, then I don't draw them. And then what I do is I set 2 alerts, one at the support zone, one at the resistance zone. If price gets to support, I buy with the stop loss below the zone and a target above the zone at 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. And if price gets to a resistance zone, I just do the opposite. I sell at the resistance zone with a stop above and a target below at 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. If price goes in against me into drawdown, it looks like it's going to break the zone and try to get out early. A lot of my losses are break even or a third or halfway to the stop. And if price goes towards the profit target, I try to hold it all the way to the profit target. This ensures that I'm making a little bit more when I'm right versus what I lose when I'm wrong. Now, I know this took a little more than 30 seconds, so hopefully your squirrel brain with low attention span was able to follow along. I just buy at support and sell at resistance on the weekly time frames. And if you do this, your trading becomes a lot more simple, and also your risk structure becomes a lot more clear. Because the reason that I'm profitable is not because I can predict where the market's going to go. No one can predict where it's going. You cannot look at news events and economic releases and technical analysis and tell yourself this bullshit story about which direction you think price is going to go. That does not work. You are not going to be right any more than half the time. So the reason I'm profitable is not because I can predict where the market's going to go, but I'm profitable because I control and structure risk. When I'm right, I happen to make a little bit more. And when I happen to be wrong, I lose a little bit less. That is it. Over the past 10 months, I have taken a $350,000 account all the way to over $1 million. And I've tracked this live here in my free Telegram channel. I'll put a link in the description and I'll put it in the pinned comment so you can see. But check it out. This is my full trading history P&L, and this has also been documented for the past 10 months here in my Telegram channel. I've run this Telegram channel for, 8 years now, since the summer of 2018. So yeah, we're literally exactly 8 years into it that I've been running this channel. If you look, there's the deposit line, $350,000. The profit, I've made almost $1 million. I had a shit ton of swaps and commissions. And then the balance is left at over $1 million. And this is where it's at. When I posted this, 1,087,000 with the current trades I'm in right now, the balance on this account is actually 1,077,000. And we actually just had a profit target hit, so this is probably higher. I'm going to show you 3 of the trades that I was currently in today. Okay. One of them is a loss. Another one is floating and drawdown, and another one has just hit the profit target. And I'm going to show you how simple this is. Okay. The first trade I was in, I entered a day or 2 ago. I think it was 2 days ago. I sold when price got here into this resistance here on the weekly chart. Okay, that's all I did. And in fact, let me show you the exact setup. Yesterday at 10 o'clock a.m. So I've barely been in this trade a little under 24 hours. That's it. And it's a weekly chart. Even on the weekly and daily charts, you're not sitting in trades for 10 years, okay? You're not sitting in them for months. You're not sitting in them for even weeks usually. I think my max trade duration is somewhere around maybe 2 weeks max. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But you don't have to sit in trades for very long. So this right here, you could see this was where I posted this analysis here. And I put July 29th, 2026, so yesterday. And I put AUDJPY ended up falling. NZDJPY looks like she's ready for the continuation down. We already had a winning trade last week on her, what I made I made $50,000 or $100,000. I can't remember. It's all tracked in Telegram. So just scroll through the Telegram. You can see all my P&L, all the status updates. And I'll be using a wider stop loss now, but it looks like we have bearish evidence and it looks like price is going to be headed to the downside. So you can see right here on the weekly chart, price came into this weekly resistance zone. I took one trade, closed it in profit. And then this week, yesterday, when price still looked like it was going to continue down, I took another trade because price is still in the resistance zone. It looked like it was going to head down. We had all these little lower highs getting painted, slight lower lows. It just looked like it was going to go down to me. So I sold, and this was my exact entry. You can see right here, I entered the trade, 94.58. And then I put my stop above about maybe, 120, 130 pips above. And then I put my stop loss down here. All I do is I just enter a sell at resistance zones. And then I put a stop past the zone. Okay, I don't put it too close right above the highs, but I also don't put it like 1,000 pips away either. I just put a stop loss on the other side of the zone that price appears to be bouncing at. And then after I do that, I drag my target down to 1-to-1 risk reward ratio and I risk an amount I'm comfortable with. Sometimes it's 25K, sometimes it's 50K, sometimes it's $100,000 or more. Every single trading opportunity is different and not all trades are equal. That is why I use varying amounts of risk depending on the quality of the trading opportunity, given my experience having made millions of dollars trading Forex, crypto, and stocks over the past decade. So with this one, I risked $50,000. That was the exact entry. This is time-stamped here on my Discord server, 9:59 a.m. yesterday. This is what it looked like the moment I entered. And then I put, I'm short NZDJPY, $50,000 risk, entry stops, and target shown above. Now I took a few more, and we're going to cover all these. We're going to cover each and every single one of these, but I just want to show you what happened with NZDJPY. So NZDJPY started falling into profit. It went sideways for a bit, popped up again, tried to go and break the high, failed, and then we just dumped down below and we fell here off the weekly zone. You had to do nothing but just wait. You had to use the weekly chart and some patience for literally one day, and this worked out. And it was so simple to do. The analysis took like 30 seconds. This is what it looked like right here when I posted this, 33,000. As you can see, the take profit down here for $50,000 is at 93.29. And the current price is at 93.11. So it's below that. The profit target's already been met. The profit target was up here. Profit target's already been met. I'm out in profit. This was a $50,000 winner. Okay, cool. Remember, all I did was I went to the weekly chart. I sold at resistance with a stop above and a target below at 1-to-1 risk reward ratio, risking an amount that reflected my risk tolerance. I have millions of dollars in capital to trade with. So for me, risking 25K, 50K, 100K per trade, it's not a big deal for me. I guess it is a big deal, but it fits my risk tolerance. So that was NZDJPY. Let's look at the second one. Remember, I told you there was 3 trading opportunities. The second one right here was GBP Canadian dollar. So I put this morning at 6:37 a.m. I'm short on GBP Canadian dollar with $50,000 risk. You could see this right here, and you can't really see it very well in the screenshot because we're here on the daily. So I'm going to show you the weekly screenshot on TradingView, but you can see I've risked $50,000 on this. So let's go here to GBP Canadian dollar, and this is the weekly chart. So here on the weekly chart, you can see this is a resistance zone where prices bounced over and over and over. We had a bounce here, here, here. We had a little bit of leakage and a pin above the zone. Then we had a bounce here. Then we had the same bounce basically in the same area before breaking above. We came back, tried to retest this zone, failed to bounce there, and instead we broke below the zone, closed below it on the weekly, and now we've come back up here to retest this same little resistance area. So it's just this area right here. So using the weekly chart, this is all you really need to do, right? You could just sell right there at the zone, put a stop loss above the zone, put a target below at 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. So the trade would look something like this, and that's that. Okay, so again, my exact trade was right here. GBP Canadian dollar is the first entry. So 1.8785. I got in after it already started bouncing a little bit because that's just what time I woke up this morning. I didn't wake up at 5:30. I woke up around 6:30. So I missed the perfect picture, perfect entry, but that's okay because the daily charts, they take a while to play out and you give yourself plenty of like wiggle room for trades. If we scroll down here to the daily chart, you can see that after I had entered this, as a matter of fact, I'll have to go to the 1 hour to just be able to show this. So you can see that after I entered this down here, price pushed up a little bit deeper into the resistance zone. So what I did is when price pushed a little bit deeper into the resistance zone is I added a sell to GBP CAD. So this is what it ended up looking like whenever I added this. This was at 8:49 a.m. Right now we're 9:30 a.m. So this is like almost an hour ago. I added this position and I added $25,000 of risk. So now the risk has increased from 50K to 75K. And I give myself usually a maximum of $100,000 risk per trade in most situations, just because that's my max risk threshold per trade, depending on the quality of the opportunity. So in this case here, I've added up here at the peak of the zone, right where all the little highs are, right where all the wicks are, right where everything was bouncing at the exact area. And if we go, we'll just take this position size tool out. You could see if we pinpoint it right here, you can see this is the area that price was bouncing. Support, 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 broke below, already been resistance once, and now we've come here. And it looks like we might be bouncing here as resistance again. So what's going to happen if I'm wrong and this breaks above the zone? Well, at the time I had added that, my terminal looked like this. It was $13,000 of drawdown on GBP CAD. As it sits now, the drawdown is $20,000 plus $4,000. So basically $25,000 in drawdown. If this continues above this resistance zone, all I have to do is close it early. I close it before the stop loss. That's it. If it looks like it's going to break above, if it goes sideways here for a couple days, if it looks like it's just trying to bounce downwards but continues to get pushed back up really quickly every single time, I just exit the trade. So the trade might look like something like a $25,000 to maybe $35,000, $45,000, maybe even $50,000 of loss, but it'll be a portion of the $75,000 loss. Every now and then I get my stop loss hit. I was gonna say every now and then I get my profit target hit. Profit targets hit about half the time. The other half the time they're losses. Again, the only reason I'm profitable is just because I make more when I'm right versus when I lose when I'm wrong. My success rate as far as accuracy and percentage win rate is literally no higher than 50%. I would argue in some cases it's even lower. But because I make more when I'm right, it means that I make money long term. And that's all that matters. It's like a business. You have revenue and you have expenses. The winning trades are your revenue. The losing trades are your expenses. You have to make sure that revenue is greater than expenses to be profitable. That is why I'm profitable. So I've added here, if this breaks above, I'm just going to get out. I'm just going to close it early. And if it hits stop, okay. That can happen whenever it's overnight and I'm asleep or something. But for now, I sit in this trade. Now that was the second trade. Now as you remember, there was 3 total trades. We're going to cover this last one and then wrap this video up. 8:47 a.m. Same time I entered same time I entered Euro US. Excuse me, what is this? GBP CAD. So the same time. This was what the trade looked like. Now I sold here at this resistance zone and I only risked $25,000 on this. Why? It's all based on experience. I just thought that price was going to break out of this range eventually, but it was still a trade worth taking because the risk structure was so nice and it was such a clear zone. So for Euro USD, if we go here to the weekly chart, you can see that price came up into this weekly zone. I sold right here this morning when price came up here into the zone. And then what ended up happening is price ended up just pushing above this zone. So as price started to break above this zone and head towards the stop loss, I called a closure early. I put them short on Euro USD with 25K risk. There's the original trade. Here's what it looked like on the chart when I entered. This is a daily chart. I just sold at the daily highs right there, basically, where all the wicks were bouncing. Reasonable stop loss, reasonable profit target. And then at 8:47 a.m., so this would have been, what, 2 hours later maybe? Yeah, about 2 hours later. I ended up closing. I said, I'm closing Euro USD here about 80% of the way to the stop loss. A big loss was avoided because the risk was only 25K. This is why I risk different amounts on trades. Not all opportunities are created equal. Some are more high quality than others, and some are lower quality than others. So in this case, I exited right here. So it was a 20K loss. The risk was managed. I'm perfectly okay with that. Losses are always going to happen when they do happen. Not if, but when they do happen. They need to be smaller than your average winner for you to be profitable long term. So I closed that here. That resulted in about a $20,000 loss, and that's that. So as we continue down here, we can see that I had a win on NZD-JPY because it's already hit the profit target. I have GBP Canadian dollar sitting in about $25,000 of loss at the time I'm making this video, and it looks like it's bouncing here at the zone. So we'll see if this continues down and bounces. If it does win, I'll make $50,000 on my first entry, and if it loses, I'll make $50,000 on my first entry, and the second entry right here where I added a $25,000 of risk, profit target's the same. So it happens to be $45,000 instead of 25K because I set it at the same spot as the first one. So I'll make 50K plus 45K. After fees and commissions and swaps, probably come out to be $90,000 profit if I win. And if I lose, it'll be about $75,000 of loss in total if it hits the stop. But again, if we start cracking above this zone, I'll probably just get out of this early. Might be maybe $40,000 of loss. We'll see. We'll see what it shapes up to be. We don't know what the future holds. So for that, I had a winner here on NZDJPY. Very nice, simple sell at resistance. I had a loss, a small loss on EURUSD whenever it broke above the zone. And as a matter of fact, I'm considering re-entering this at some point just because this is still a pretty clear resistance zone if we go here to the weekly. So I might be re-entering this just with a different risk structure and a further stop here in a bit. So we'll see what EURUSD holds. I'm waiting for this momentum to start dying off a little bit first. So we'll see, but it's still looking pretty good overall for sells. So I might just be re-entering a sell, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And the last one here is GBP Canadian dollar, which I'm short here at this resistance zone. It's just a break and retest of this resistance zone. Price came in here, it's touching the resistance. I buy at support, I sell at resistance on the higher time frames. That's all I do. And it works over and over and over again. Through all the losses, through all the wins, through all the break-even streaks and losing streaks and crazy win streaks. This works over and over and over. Nothing has worked better in my past 10 years, my past decade of trading experience. The first 2 years it took me to get profitable, but for the past 8 profitable years, I have not found anything better than just trading simple support resistance on the higher time frames. And I've tested a lot of stuff. I've modified my trading strategy. I've changed the risk structure. I've tried to fine tune and optimize and tweak things to try to find better ways of doing it so I can grow as a trader. Nothing I have found works better than simple support resistance. And it's so crazy because it takes the least effort to do. I encourage you to go and try this for yourself. I encourage you to go into my free Telegram channel and just scroll through all the history and see all the trading opportunities and see everything that I call out. It's literally free. If you join the Telegram, you think it's bullshit, then you can just leave it, right? It takes you 5 to 10 seconds to join and just check it out. If you join and you think it's bullshit and you want to go do something more complicated, that's fine with me. I'm just encouraging you to just try this, especially if you're still struggling in trading and it's taking way too much time. And at that, you're not even profitable and you're still losing money. Nothing works better, in my very humble opinion, than support and resistance. That said, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, my friends, and happy trading.